Bases drop for Tuesday Thoughts here on Soccer's Morning Show at STH. Sorry about 9:06. I was uploading something. So something that we didn't get to talk about yesterday. Finally got the chance to get around and find it and track it down and figure out which call I could pull of this particular action. And so we'll be hearing from it. We talked about it yesterday a little bit. So this morning is going to be what we didn't get to talk about yesterday. If there's anything left over involving Atlanta United or Major League Soccer or anything international, that's all on the board. So anything's on the table for Tuesday Thoughts we didn't get to talk about yesterday. There is stuff this morning to talk about involving Open Cup and a lot of coaching recycling. And I don't know if I should be surprised by it or not. It's coaching recycling overseas. And so what I mean by that is when you end up with morning four card, when you end up with an element of you don't know what you don't know what you're going to do. Particular club might be in a stuck moment and they can't get out of it. And they're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? Or you're pedaling as fast as you can and none of your ideas have worked. And your owner is the owner that he is. So you're like, hey, why don't we just go back to the future? And so you have those kinds of moments. You had a couple of those we've got to get into. There's some stuff in England to get into, obviously, with Nottingham Forest. There's an update there as to why it was a different points deduction than it was with Everton. And our resident Evertonian fans, both Ropes and Tom, I'm sure that they'll love to hear this. So we'll get into that. There's a football governance bill that we need to get into this morning about what's going on overseas. We didn't have a chance to talk about the NWSL yesterday and how absolutely crazy the match in Kansas City was. And now that we have the NWSL off and running, we'll try and track down Jen Hildreth and see what's up with Jen's mind and see if she has officially recovered from her call of the 9-goal thriller in Kansas City that went absolutely sideways, nuts, bananas, crazy pants on the weekend. We got a suspension that got trimmed. We have a lot of stuff in Italy that we've got to get into this morning. So there's plenty to talk about across the board, and at least that's from me what I'm bringing to the table. So that's what's on my mind. Traditionally, I always like to say what's on yours. So bring that to the table as well. Bring that into the Twitch pitch, and we can break all of that stuff down coming in this morning. And once again, that's just part of what we're talking about. Your reminders for the week, once again, you got tomorrow. Traditionally, it's Tuesday Throwdown, but it's a Wednesday mashup because match got slid in our calendar. So traditionally, we would have the Tuesday Throwdown tonight, but the Tuesday Throwdown has been shifted a day. So 5:30, 7:30, I think it's 5:30, 7:30. It is Midtown at Villa Rica. That is the first match of the week brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente for all that is you, and our friends at KP Georgia. Then on Friday, we got a matchup there as well, and I think that one's 5:30, 7:30. Saturday, Jason is in Toronto, so you'll have all of that activity on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app with Mike and Jason north of the border. Sunday here on the network, it is the twos. Carolina Core is coming to town, and it'll be another 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon kick, pregame show at 2:30, and we'll have all that for you. And it was great to see everybody of the fraction for the home opener. And after this, after Sunday, it's really weird for Atlanta United too. They're off for like 3 weeks. It's really weird. It's a weird spot in the schedule, but 5 of the first 6 are at home and 2 in a row. But after Carolina Core Sunday afternoon at 3, I don't think they come back until the 15th. It's like a 3-week off period for Steve Cook and Atlanta United too. So we'll see what happens in that off week, and we'll see how everything lays out there. So that's the programming schedule. Obviously, we'll be with you here all morning, all week long. But once again, that's your programming. So it's Wednesday, Friday, high school, Sunday, MLS Next Pro on the network. And it's at soccerdownhere.mixler.com, mixlr.com, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. And thanks to all the schools that have been hanging out with us all season long on the high school side of things. And thanks to all of you guys. And this was something else I wanted to get into that I didn't get into yesterday, and I apologize for that. A lot of you come by when there are home matches at Mercedes-Benz, and I'll be walking the halls because I'm like 9,000 different things that I've got to do during a match day. And, you'll see me and Joe Freihofer on the Halo board doing a couple different things. And I know that a lot of you stop me, and good to see you and shake my hand and everything. It's very humbling that you guys want to do that. So I just wanted to thank all of you who take the time to stop me in the halls at Mercedes-Benz. You guys got stuff you got to do. You guys are hanging out with your friends. You're getting ready for match day. You're waiting to try to figure out, okay, how do I balance all the things I've got to do here inside the building with, getting to the seat and making sure I enjoy myself. But I just wanted to shout out to all of you guys who take the time to stop me and let me know how much you enjoy what we do here at SDH with me and Jarrett and Jason and Nick and Maddie and everybody. When you stop me in the halls at Mercedes-Benz and you let us know how much you appreciate what we do, and that you guys listen as much as you do, and that you guys, that you hang out with us as much as you do, whether it's on tape or live, or take the time to listen to us as much as you do. I just wanted to shout out to all of you guys to thank you for taking the time. I mean, because we've been at this. This is our 8th season of doing Soccer's Morning Show. And after we knew we were going to go to 2 hours, we just didn't know it was going to be 4 months later when we started this. So the fact that you guys take the time, A, to listen, B, to contribute, C, to be a part of the family that we've created and organically created, to be a part of the Discord, get to see each other in conversation, get to see each other in person when you're at Mercedes-Benz or up in Kennesaw or on the road or wherever. I just wanted to shout out to all of you guys and thank you for being a part of this ride that we've been on. And obviously the next 4 years are going to be, another part of the fun ride too. But when you stop me in the halls at Mercedes-Benz, it's very, very humbling to have the conversations. Like literally, it's like shaking a hand, saying thank you, and then I'm off and running, and you guys are off and running. But the fact that when we go to the supporters lot, you guys thank us there too, and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to take 30 or 45 seconds to thank all of you guys for stopping and thinking that shaking my hand is worthy of enough to stop to be a part of things. So shout out to all of you guys for being a part of the family here at SDH, and shout out for everything that you guys do to be a part of everything every single day. So that was the biggest thing I forgot to mention yesterday was that, running around and seeing people at Mercedes-Benz. So thanks for all of that. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And here is the QR code for those of you who are watching, however you're watching us, either on the 280 character app on Twitch or on our YouTube channel. And don't forget, when you want to start your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, through that QR code, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, very, very cool stuff that they have earmarked that is a part of their build as well. So don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off. They take 10% and then reinvest it, thanks to our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I know that we didn't get into all the other MLS matches yesterday, and we'll get into, if Dylan can join us on Wednesday, since he's the busiest man in the Northeast, we'll talk to Dylan about it on Wednesday. We'll talk to Nico about it on Thursday, and we'll get you ready for the activity here on Friday as we get you ready for the international window. And we might have Bart Keeler on Friday after what happened Thursday night in the semis in Dallas in the CONCACAF Nations League. One of the moments that we didn't get the chance to talk about yesterday, finally had the chance to take a peek at it and how it was called, because you can only see so much, when you're staring at at a video signal and going, okay, well, that was wild. So here is the call of the Kellen Acosta goal from Callum Williams. Callum Williams is on the call. Nothing like Newcastle on the brain. Callum Williams was on the call for this one. Here's Callum's call of one of the nastiest draws, because for me it's a power fade, but one of the nastiest draws that you will ever see, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and Major League Soccer. You're going to enjoy this.
Here comes Chicago one more time. Acosta forward. And it's an open moment. Oh my word! Chicago Fire have won it. The Windy City plays its part in a vital Chicago Fire goal. A goal coated in belief, accompanied by the biggest sense of relief. Chicago Fire wanted more, they needed more. Now they have it. Now they find their first win of the season.
The story on the Fire has been conceding late goals. Well, what a way to flip the script from his own half. That Chicago wind with some home cooking there. This ball goes from one end to the next. Sirois can't track it.
Yeah, he couldn't drag it because it was one of the craziest things we've ever seen. Somebody did the meteorological research on that. And there were times inside that building, and for those of you that have never been to the spaceship, otherwise known as, newest version of Soldier Field, it is right there on the waterfront, and the winds can go, from one end to the other. And because that building is as high as it is, everything ends up with a bit of a swirl at times. And so Kellen Acosta fired that ball up into the atmosphere, and there were sustained winds in the low 30s. Gusts, I think, at one point were 39. And this is, talking to like local meteorologists and things like that. So literally you had a situation where a ball goes up into the air, and Kellen Acosta, Kellen Acosta is trying to hit a cross. I mean, he is trying to launch it into the 18. What he didn't anticipate was that thing was going to get a draw on it to where it was going to end up curling back, and Jonathan Sirois couldn't quite handle it. And he actually did get his hands on it when he had his oh-ish moment of trying to sit there and go, all right, what am I going to do here? I've got to try and save this now all of a sudden. And it actually goes through his hands. I thought legitimately that when I was looking at the wider shots, that it was just going over his head. Sirois had overcommitted. The wind carried it past him, and it goes over him. But Sirois actually did get his hands on it. So it was one of those moments. And if Kellen Acosta said, yeah, I planned it, that was post-match or whatever. But yes, so you had winds in the low 30s, gusts in the high 30s, and that's what Kellen Acosta hit the ball into to get Chicago full points against 10-man Montreal, CF Montreal on the weekend. And Laurent Courtois, I imagine, had some rather colorful things to say too. But that kind of a thing was just absolutely crazy. I know everybody's like, yeah. You guys are not wrong. Dell goes, that better not be goal of the week. Dell, I hate to break it to you, but it might be. And we're only like in match week 4 or 5, but it might end up being goal of the year. Legitimately, it might end up being goal of the year just because of all of the crazy, wacky silliness that's attached to it. No, I'm serious. I mean, Dell's like, no, but I mean, this season now, it's going to be hard to beat a moment like that. It is going to be hard to beat a moment like that because of when it was, which was 90 plus 9, it was like 98 and change. the context of the moment, you're tied at 3. The meteorological effect to it, where literally, like I said, Kellen Acosta was looking to get it toward the edge of the 18, and he goes for the long cross. You get somebody else to sit there and lob it across goal from one end, from the far post to the near. You have the situation, you have the time of the match, you have the just odd atmospheric nonsense that was attached to it. So right now, I would say, and like I said, this is like week 5 of 40. But yeah, we're at 12.5% into the schedule. That's probably going to end up being one of the contenders for goal of the year. Right now, obviously through the first 5 weeks, I think it would have to be goal of the year just because of everything that we talked about. And now everybody's going down the Acosta rabbit hole. Dell doesn't like Acosta. Michael heads back with us this morning. He's like, all Acostas are a problem. And Michael's not wrong. Sirwa had a true ish moment. He was not, Michael, you are not wrong. Michael is not wrong in that assessment. So, no, it was a true, and like I said, that plays into it. You have, I don't know, Dell, I'm sure that if this was a track and field kind of a thing, you would sit there and say, well, it's not going to be a record because it was wind aided. You know how, like, when you sit there and you're going long jump or something, and you end up setting a record or sprints or something, and you set a record, but the record doesn't stand because it's in a wind that is louder than is allowed. It's like, you can only have wind that goes over a certain mile per hourness. And if that happens in a sprint, if that happens in a long jump or something like that, you won't get a record. You'll sit there, the unofficial record, because it was wind aided, and you'll get the parentheses on something like that. So I don't know if the wind would get an assist, but you will definitely know that it was a wind aided goal by Kellen Acosta. And yes, Michael Sirwa definitely had an ish moment when it came to that. So it was completely and totally crazy. But yeah, that was the moment of the weekend, but it was one of the weirdest ones. And so that's why it ends up being opening kickoff on a Tuesday. Yeah, and Hutch is not wrong. Morning, Abby. Hutch says he who controls the wind controls the game. And, the Russians with their weather machine got to control the 1980 Summer Olympics because it apparently rained, I think, 2.5 weeks before the Summer Olympics. Didn't rain a bit, and then it rained for 3 weeks after. So the only explanation is that the Russians had a weather machine, and they were in charge of it for everything in and around Moscow in 1980 and wherever else they had to have 5-ring competitions. I don't want to get us in trouble. But, yeah, so the Russians had a weather machine, and it wouldn't surprise me if maybe Frank Klopas found a weather machine to help out late in the match. It's like, turn it on! You end up with a match like that. And so, and Dell's asking whoever controls the ball controls the game. Well, Kellen Acosta controlled the ball, and the wind controlled the ball. So maybe the wind controlled the game. I feel like that scene in Volunteers where they're talking about time is money, opium is money, time is opium. I thought that one, the Who's on First sketch that was in Volunteers. How many of you remember that movie? That's your Google search for today, kids. Go find that scene on your YouTubes. Yes. Then Michael is true. Since the U.S. boycotted the 80 Olympics, it didn't happen. So that's where we are. But yes, wind machines, controlling the wind, controlling the match, controlling all these kinds of things, and Kellen Acosta ends up with an early contender for goal of the year. So that's our opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Here is the Abby-aided QR code from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvested in the youth game, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, housekeeping. This is the scarf, as we always like to say. This is the scarf to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation build their program from scratch. I know that a lot of you have the jersey. I know that some of you have the bucket hat. Here is your chance to get the scarf to add to the collection. If you go to their website, meaning the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, you get to see Maddie Cruz as an international model. She's modeling the scarf. This was an SDH collaboration with the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. You guys can help out, and you can buy as many of these as you want. Proceeds go to the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation to help them with travel, because a couple of weeks ago, their technical director and their director of communications went to Northwest Arkansas to try and do some recruiting of the Marshallese population. And that in itself is part of the story that we're telling as we go here when it comes to the Marshall Islands. So you can help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. It's $32. And if you want Abby to come and deliver it in the Abstermobile, which is 347,000 miles, if I'm not mistaken, if that's what Abby told me in the weekend, if I think I remember, Abby can come and deliver it to you. You get to see Abby as a part of the process. So Venmo me, Venmo the show, reach out to me, however you want to do it. And I give the scarf to Abby. You go to the Discord, you fill out a form. Abby figures out if she can see you or not, and she'll take the scarf to you, and she'll shake your hand and give you a hug. If you're outside of the Abstermobile's driving range, then it's another $5 to mail it. So 32 and $5. And like I said, everything goes to the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation so they can help build the program from scratch. And they're coming back here, they want to say in October. So what we want to do is we want to try and help them with their financials so they can come over here, invest the time, and make sure that they can build the program from scratch. 344,000 miles. That was only 3,000 off. So yes. So here's the deal. It's 32. Reach out to me. Fill out the form on the Discord, or just reach out to me. And if it's within Abby's range, you get to see the Abstermobile, you get your scarf. If it's outside the Abstermobile's range, we tack on another $5, we mail it to you, and you get to show your support for the Marshall Islands right there. Thanks to our friends at Die Hard Scarves, by the way. Came up with the killer design that is there. So that is your way to pay it forward and help out the game. You can help out the game with the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, the last program, the last country on this planet to have a soccer national team program. You can help them out. $32 for the scarf, 32 and $5 if you want it shipped. That's the Marshall Islands scarf. Reach out to me. Reach out to the show. Fill out the program, the piece of paper on the Discord, the form, and you get to see Abby, or you just get it shipped to you. So that's the early round stuff here this morning. All right, Open Cup, and I don't know if you guys saw yesterday the news that came out of the Open Cup, and we have our first result of the Open Cup, and sadly, it's a forfeit, and it's involving two teams here in the state of Georgia, and one of them was supposed to play the other, and now they're not. Georgia Lions, and this is part of the deep dive that we were going to get into this morning. 31 matches in 3 days. It was supposed to be 32. But yesterday afternoon, word came out that Georgia Lions from NISA withdrew from the competition. And so that means that Apotheos, our friends from Apotheos, they get a free pass into round 2. 95 teams, 94 matches, 109th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. And we know about the differences. So today, there are a handful of matches. Miami United is at Chattanooga FC and MLS Next Pro. That one's at 6 o'clock, and you can catch it at ussoccer.com. Clovers are at Brave SC in Middleton, Florida. Brave SC. This is the third name that Brave SC have played under in league history. Began as a youth team, and in 2016 acquired a USL League 2 operating license from Ocala Stampede. It reached the USL 2 semis in 2023, falling to Lions Bridge 1-1 in penalties after a 1-1 draw. And we know about Clovers. You might remember Brave SC as the Villages. So it's Clovers at the Villages tonight. now they're Brave SC in USL League 2. That's at 7 o'clock. Once again, ussoccer.com. Our friends at Duluth SC, I probably should have caught up with our buddy John Schuster. Duluth SC is on the road at Forward Madison tonight. That's at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We all know about NPSL. We know about Duluth SC, and we know about Forward Madison. Lexington Sporting Club is at Vermont Green for one of the biggest road trips of this round. USL League 1 at USL League 2. Virtue Field in Burlington. And for those of you that may follow Vermont Green, I would on social media just because of what they're building. It was a snow-covered stadium last night in Burlington, Vermont. I don't know if they need folks to come help them shovel the snow. Lexington Sporting Club is at Vermont Green. Maryland Bobcats out of NISA. Apparently, there will be a NISA team that will be playing tonight. Maryland Bobcats at Westchester United. Westchester United has been a pain in the butt in Open Cup. That's at 7:30 ussoccer.com. FC America CFL Spurs. I was like, okay, that's a mouthful. They're at South Georgia Tormenta at 7:30. Originally registered as CFL GOSA Spurs, later changed their team name to FC America CFL Spurs. Prior to the opening game of the Open Division local qualifying tourney, started as a youth club in 91. Most famous alumni is Graham Zusi. Reached the round of 16 in the UPSL spring season, won the 2023 USSL Orlando Elite Division. We all know about South Georgia Tormenta. Hailstorms at Tulsa Athletic at Hicks Park. That's going to be a fun one at 8 o'clock tonight. Foro SC out of the UPSL is playing Los Verdos, Austin FC 2. That's at 9 o'clock. Foro's making their U.S. Open Cup debut after they won the Open Division local qualifying tournament. El Farolito, we know them. They play at Timbers 2. That's at 10:30, and that's tonight. But the match that we were looking forward to tomorrow was supposed to be Georgia Lions and Apotheos. That's not happening now. Yesterday, NISA, seemingly for the second time in a row when it comes to releasing news stories, and this is what we're going to get into. When it comes to the news of what's going on in and around NISA, NISA is a very, it is an organization where they have, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. Right now, specifically when it comes to NISA, they are having a lot of team-oriented issues. And this is the second story in a row where the Georgia Lions were involved. And the Georgia Lions are our deep dive for the morning, so we'll recap what's going on with them. And David, that's what we were going to get into. Basically, it was a 2-sentence release from the league office yesterday in Chicago. The National Independent Soccer Association announced, okay, I'll read it as is. The National Independent Soccer Association announced startup club, Georgia Lions SC, will withdraw from the 2024 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. The club is still working through internal issues that prohibit it from taking the pitch in an effective manner. So that was yesterday. That was yesterday afternoon. The story before that the league released on Friday was once again another 2-sentence press release. And of course, if they were to actually give us the clicks into the open schedule, no, that's not what I wanted. On Friday, and everything is linking back to, man. All right, so no matter what article you click on the NISA website, Everything is rolling back. I'm not kidding. I'm trying to give you the lowdown on the schedule. And I'm going to the news items on the NISA website. I want to click on an article from Friday. It rolls me back to the media alert from yesterday afternoon. Then I go to the third story in the queue, second from last, wanting to find out about NISA clubs preparing for the U.S. Open Cup on the league website in the news section, and it rolls me back to the story from Monday afternoon. So the last three stories that are attached to NISA on their website roll back to the story that happened yesterday afternoon. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to see what NISA has. I'm going through their social media. Okay, so now through their social media on their 280-character app, I'm clicking on the article that I want to click on. And I finally get it. So, Friday, here's what NISA announced. The National Independent Soccer Association announced today a shift and delay to the start of the 24 season, canceling the interconference kickoff matches in Georgia scheduled from March 23rd to March 31st. NISA's four new clubs, Arizona Monsoon, Capo, Georgia Lions, and Irvine Zeta, require additional time to prepare for the long season ahead. It is critical to ensure every club is in its strongest possible position before stepping onto the pitch. The season will now begin April 6, and the league will seek to make up matches during the West Coast interconference trip scheduled for August 3 through 10. So, you had these teams that were there. They were ready to do a preseason East Coast run from March 23rd to the 31st, basically starting in 4 days' time. Yeah, we're in March. Friday, that got wiped off the board. It involved Georgia Lions and three other clubs. Since it was supposed to happen here in Georgia, you can intimate that it was because of the issues involving Georgia Lions that the other clubs coming from the West Coast to play at whatever the hub was supposed to be for Georgia Lions, that was not happening. And so NISA decided to go, all right, y'all don't travel because this isn't going down, and we don't want you to waste any money to come here and then have it completely fall down, and then you'd have to fly back, and all of the money that you would have invested in that would not have resulted in any matches. So the last two stories from the NISA website, once you go down their 280-character app and you get to determine, okay, these are the last two stories, and they do link you to those stories instead of everything on the website linking you back to the Friday story or the Monday story involving the Open Cup. The last two stories have involved Georgia Lions. And right now, NISA, when it comes to this season, right now in the 24 season, you have 9 clubs. Club de Leon Lions, Maryland Bobcats, who are in Open Cup, Michigan Stars, Savannah Clovers, who are in Open Cup. That's your Eastern Conference. Monsoon, Capo, Zeta, and LA Force is your West. So right now, you were supposed to get your season started this weekend. You're not. Georgia Lions, got arena on the brain. Georgia Lions was supposed to be the host, the de facto host, the hub. And they withdrew from Open Cup. And they were supposed to host this hub to start the season off on the East Coast. 4-team round robin for however long it was going to be for 8 days, however many matches you were going to play to get the season started. That's not happening now. So where we are, for those of you that may not know, there was a large story that appeared in suburban Atlanta papers. And this will be the longer part of the deep dive this morning for those of you that didn't get the chance. Back in January, Georgia Lions joined NISA for the 24 season. January 11th. So going back to January 11th. So we're talking 9 weeks ago. 9 weeks ago, the Georgia Lions joined NISA. Club is the first Indian woman-owned professional soccer club in the U.S. Move subject to U.S. Soccer Federation approval. Josh Prutch, the commissioner, or the executive vice president, sorry. John Prutch is the commissioner. And by the way, we will try and track down folks at NISA to get to the bottom of what they are seeing when it comes to this particular franchise and the league season on the whole, considering it was supposed to start this weekend. So Josh Prutch, in the release back in January, said the following. Co-founders Patrick Vierhout and Sunita Patel, along with the entire Georgia Lions organization, allow us to continue to build with established organizations, well-led, well-run, well-connected in the community. Expanding into Atlanta is also a strong step for our Eastern profile. Sunita also brings a unique perspective to our leadership group. Patel brings a history of success with diverse business portfolio and a deep-seated love for sports. She had a 2-sentence quote in the press release. Also, the owner of the Sportif apparel company, Vierhout, with a rich legacy in soccer, brings invaluable knowledge, experience, and strategic alliances to the organization. Vierhout had his 2 sentences. Georgia Lions founded in 2020 as East Atlanta FC in Conyers before being transferred in 2023 to Vierhout. Club currently plays on the pitches of the Rock. And this is dated January. This is the middle of January. While the club currently plays on the pitches of the Rockdale Youth Soccer, recently the club announced plans to invest up to $5 million in upgrades and renovations. So that was what NISA said when Georgia Lions came online back in January. That was what they said. Now, going forward to February 27th, article, Rockdale Newton Citizen, Alice Queen. And this is probably your required reading for the day. It's a bit of a dive. It's a bit of a deep dive. But I'll try and go through some of the greatest hits here. So Alice Queen wrote the piece. Here's her lead. A man who promised a wide array of improvements at the Rockdale Youth Soccer Association complex now faces allegations that he and others intentionally set out to defraud and deceive the organization's board of directors. Patrick Vierhout, the semi-pro East Atlanta Dutch Lions FC and Vierhout Sports Apparel Company, Sportif Company USA, are being sued by RISA, Rockdale Youth Soccer Association, in Rockdale Superior Court for repayment of more than $400,000 in cash and actual and punitive damages. The civil lawsuit was filed January 26 by Conyers attorney Daniel Digby. According to the lawsuit, in February of 2023, Vierhout and EADL convinced the majority of RISA board members to enter into an asset purchase agreement. Under the terms of the agreement, Rice's assets, including a little over $492,000 in cash, transferred to EADL Sportif and another unnamed entity at the direction of Vierhout, while EADL took on the responsibility of paying Rice's debts. The debts consisted of 3 loans, totaling just under $390,000, 2 with Truist, 1 with the Small Business Administration. In addition to satisfying the loans, Vierhout and the EADL promised the RISA board that EADL would invest the $5 million in improvements at the soccer complex. That we got in the NISA release. establish the EADL team headquarters there, and establish an organization to run youth and adult soccer programs. RISA board issued a statement the previous Monday to the release of the Alice Queen article in the Rockdale paper. Last year, Rockdale Youth Soccer Association, a 50-year-old nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of youth soccer in the East Metro Atlanta area, entered into a contract with East Atlanta Dutch Lions FC, LLC, to operate a youth to professional soccer organization at the RISA complex at Old Salem Road in Conyers. Due to EADL not fulfilling its obligations, the RISA board of directors and trustees have initiated legal proceedings. RISA, as a long-standing community partner, will continue to work within the local community to provide a quality soccer complex for the next generation of soccer players, end quote. The lawsuit alleges, instead of paying off RISA's debts, EADL caused the Truist loans, which were secured by RISA's 38 acres at Old Salem Road, to go into foreclosure. A member of the RISA board has since purchased the note on the property. In addition to breach of contract, the RISA lawsuit alleges EADL and Veerhout conspired to defraud the RISA board by failing to pay the Truist loans and deceived the board of directors that the RISA debts would be paid and that other services would be provided. EADL first registered as a Georgia corporation February 15th of 23, 3 days before EADL and Veerhout entered into the asset purchase agreement with RISA under a separate lease agreement. Sportif Real Estate, another company registered in February of 23 with its corporate address at Cashew Court, I imagine that that's a local address inside Rockdale County, agreed to acquire and maintain all the buildings and fixtures at the RISA complex and pay $24,000 in rent per year until 2073. The agreement gave Sportif Real Estate the right to construct improvements on the property and stipulated the improvements would be paid for in cash, so there'd be no liens on the property. RISA, in January of 24, filed a dispossessory affidavit demanding Sportif Real Estate and related occupants vacate the premises. In an emailed response to questions last Friday, Veerhout said he was unaware of any eviction notice. So that's Alice Queen, the editor of the Rockdale News Citizen, with the update February 27. So basically 3 weeks ago. That was 3 weeks ago, where Rockdale Youth Soccer Association filed a breach of contract and fraud lawsuits against Veerhout and his businesses. So that's where we are. We have several questions involving what's going on, involving Georgia Lions. And 2 questions in a row from NISA, 2 statements in a row really from NISA, involving Georgia Lions. We do not know where Georgia Lions are set to play. We do not know what their roster looks like. We don't know what their makeup is to get ready for the NISA season here in 24. But what we do know is one of the owners of Georgia Lions has not made any friends in Rockdale County. And for those who are outside of our footprint, that is one of the suburban counties here in the metro Atlanta area, and it is a good 20 minutes outside the perimeter. So basically the perimeter freeway that encircles the city of Atlanta and some of its suburbs, one of the freeways that goes east-west through that circular interstate. If you go east about 20 minutes outside the perimeter that encircles Atlanta and its suburbs, the city of Atlanta and some of its suburbs, you go to Rockdale County. That's where the issues are with Rockdale Youth Soccer. So Rockdale County doesn't like you. You were supposed to play there. You were supposed to build there. You're supposed to have improvements there. Not happening. You've been sued in Rockdale County. And now, with the league that you were supposed to play in wanting to start up, you're not there. There was, in looking at social media, there was discussion that they would be moving to Dalton and playing there because I think there was a tryout camp that was attached. Hang on just a second. Let me see if that tryout camp, I think the tryout camp was in Dalton, like I said, and I'm kind of workshopping all of this too as a part of all of the ideas. At Georgia Lions FC, by the way, for those who are following along, their location header at Georgia Lions FC is Dalton, Georgia. So that's where they are heading. I don't know which participle to use here because they allegedly moved from Rockdale County to Dalton, and there's nothing going on. Last posting on the 280 character app came February 24th, 3 days before the article came out in Rockdale County about how much Rockdale County doesn't like Georgia Lions. Georgia Lions, under the leadership of owner Sunita Patel, are thrilled to announce our debut in the National Independent Soccer Association in 2024, committed to engaging deeply with our fans and community. Stay tuned for more thrilling announcements. That's the last tweet that they put out there. And then you have folks who are asking about rumors if the club is moving. One of our buddies at Scarves and Spikes, Callum Ewing, was trying to get to the bottom of it initially. Now you have folks who wanted to know about the roster call for the game. You go from being Georgia Lions FC to Georgia Lions SC. And apparently they used both in their Twitter header. So Georgia Lions SC is Georgia Lions FC on Twitter. So right now we have far more questions than any kind of answer involving this club. And I would also hope that NISA has just as many questions themselves. And if you click on Georgia Lions FC, you get a website is under construction alert. Nothing there. Just a bunch of rotating pictures. And it says that they will be unleashed in 24. Our website is coming very soon. Literally, that's all you get. So, Georgia Lions SC, which is at Georgia Lions FC on Twitter, has no fans in Rockdale County and suburban Atlanta. They've allegedly moved their base of operations, or at least their Twitter locator header, to Dalton. We're supposed to be playing matches this weekend. They're not. We're supposed to be playing matches tomorrow. They're not. I would imagine NISA has a lot of questions. I would hope NISA has a lot of questions. So that's where we are. And it is, there's a lot of stuff going on out there that a lot of enterprising folks are trying to track down when it comes to answers. And it is disappointing on a bunch of different fronts. Absolutely disappointing on a bunch of different fronts because, as you guys have said in the Twitch pitch this morning, Abby feels bad for all the players affiliated. And Dell, there is a bigger story here. It's just we're all trying to get to it. The short-term questions are, where are you? Who's running the ship? What's your roster look like? Are you going to even be ready to start your season in NISA after all of the promotion and all of the excitement that was attached to it 2 months and a week ago? 9 weeks ago, you make an announcement. Then we go over what happened in Rockdale County. Then you have apparently changed your header, while you both have SC and FC on your Twitter header and identification. You apparently now can be found in Dalton, or at least that's where you say your identifier is, your geographic identifier on Twitter. And like I said, you're supposed to be playing in a league you're not playing in. You're supposed to be playing in a tournament you're not playing in. And that's where we are. Where are the owners? What does the team look like? Are you going to put a team together? Does a team exist outside of in-name only on 2 separate identifiers on Twitter and a website that's under construction? Where are you? Who are you? And what are you doing? Those are the 3 questions this morning involving Georgia Lions SCFC, since they won't be playing Apotheos tomorrow in Open Cup as they were supposed to at Silverbacks Park. You feel just as much for Apotheos in this as you do for anybody who appreciates the Open Cup and follows the tournament, because this was supposed to be a big moment in the history of Apotheos. NPSL team makes it to the national final. Hell of a run last year. You get into the U.S. Open Cup. You're supposed to have your first round matchup tomorrow against a team that has more questions than a Jeopardy episode. And it's great that you get an advancement. You get a walkover. And now that you'll be in the second round from here, it also means that you probably end up with a bigger payday as a home team in the second round. Will be interesting to see how the second round lays out and see what happens with Apotheos. I imagine that the folks at the Open Cup are going to sit there and try to do a make good and not send them on the road. Might be the winner of the Chattanooga FC match or something like that comes to Silverbacks Park for round number 2. But truly, we have more questions and no answers. We don't even have more questions than answers. Well, technically we do, because the number of answers equals 0. But right now we have far more questions than we do any kind of an answer involving Georgia Lions SCFC. And the NISA schedule and the NISA season are set to come up in short order. Supposed to kick off this weekend here with a 4-team round robin. Now not happening. Yeah, we'll make it up in August when everybody's supposed to come west. But right now, that's where we are with Georgia Lions. It is the second time that we have had a forfeit in Open Cup history. Second time. And Georgia Lions SCFC is the trivia question now. Apotheos was supposed to have their moment. They're supposed to get their first ever match. Their first ever match turns into a walkover. Their first ever match with attendance will happen in the next round, and you hope for them it's a home game. And like I said, I think the Open Cup will sit there and say, because you didn't get a home game first time, here's your home game. It's a bigger gate. So that's where we are. David, need to make an example on this. Fine so big they can't afford to own a team in any league. Go after the bozos for making a mockery of the league and by doing this stupid ish. And David mentions ruin Risa and the Lions. And the question, Dell's wanting to know, why did the teams forfeit? Not enough players. I mean, Dell, it could be anything from lack of infrastructure to not having any players to having players that they need to have properly licensed. Bottom line is we don't know. But something in the infrastructure and the current build and layout of Georgia Lions SCFC is the reason why they're not in Open Cup right now, why they're not going to be in Open Cup, and why Apotheos got a first-round walkover. And I would also like to know, when it comes to Georgia Lions SCFC, how much communication they gave to Apotheos, how much communication they're giving to NISA, and how much communication they gave to U.S. Soccer about the Open Cup appearance. Did they just kind of sit there and do their own thing and not worry about anybody and just like, yeah, we're going to focus on ourselves. We'll let you know when we got some news to tell you? Did they not even do that? I want to know about the level of communication that Georgia Lions SCFC had with all of the parties that are engaged in this particular franchise and idea and their activities. Did they tell Apotheos what's up? Yeah, we're going through A, B, C, D, and E. We're trying our best. We'll get back to you. Did they call him? Did they pick up the phone? Did they let him know? Did they shoot him a text? Did they send a carrier pigeon? Did they send a bird with a note on the ankle? Hey, this is what's going on. This is from Georgia Lions. Did they send a lion over to Apotheos to sit here and go, hey, bruh, this is what's going on? Did they communicate with Georgia? Did they communicate with Apotheos at all? Did Georgia Lions SCFC communicate with Apotheos at all? Are they communicating with NISA at all? When NISA calls and it says, Prutch, John, Chicago area code, are they picking up the phone? Are they doing any of that? When U.S. Soccer called from Chicago or wherever the folks from Open Cup were calling from, did Clark Hunt call them on the phone from Kansas City and go, this is my dad's tournament. What's up with you guys? Was there any outbound communication from Georgia Lions SCFC on any aspect of this? Who are they calling? Who are they reaching out to? Are they reaching out? Are they talking to folks? Or did they just kind of sit there and say, we'll focus on this, and when we have an answer, we'll let everybody know? That we don't know. So we have more questions and answers equals 0. Traditionally, that's not a really good math problem, because then it would end up being a negative number that's attached to your positive number of questions. We only have half of an equation here. If Veerhout and Patel or anyone attached to Georgia Lions SCFC could communicate, we might have some answers. And that's behooving on us to try to chase after these answers too. So, yeah, it's a fine kettle, as they say here in these parts. We have no answers from Georgia Lions SCFC. NISA's last 2 news releases have involved Georgia Lions SCFC. No Eastern Hub next week. And no Open Cup from them. So that's where we are with Georgia Lions. That's where we are with Open Cup. Tonight you can watch Tormenta at ussoccer.com. You can catch it at Chattanooga FC at ussoccer.com. You're going to have a bunch of matches tonight. None of them tomorrow will involve Apotheos or Georgia Lions SCFC. So that's where we are. But yeah, we don't know why they forfeited. Don't know. No idea. And a little communication in these situations goes a very long way. Abby wants to know if, since I call it, are they officially still called tweets if it's no longer called Twitter? I don't want to say that I X'd out somebody. I X'd somebody. That sounds kind of, that sounds kind of dark. So that's why I've just referred to as the 280 character app and responding to things. But yeah, we have no answers from Georgia Lions SCFC. Look, if they want to come on the show, the runway's open. Call to the tower is right there. Call from the towers out there to Georgia Lions SCFC. If you want to come on the show, you've got an open invitation. Anybody attached to the club, you've got an open invitation. I want to know what's going on with Georgia Lions SCFC. We're going to reach out to NISA and find out what's going on, how their standing is currently, meaning Georgia Lions SCFC, where they stand. Obviously, with 9 teams, it's an odd schedule. If you go to 8, it's more even and balanced. But right now, with Lions SCFC lacking, allegedly, apparently, any kind of infrastructure, or they still have some things they got to work out. Like I said, we don't know what their roster makeup is. We don't know what their roster is. We don't know if they still have to have paperwork filed, eligibilities are met. We know nothing about where Georgia Lions SCFC are as a club right now as they prepare for their season in NISA and they've kissed Open Cup goodbye because they're not ready. You announce on January 11th that you've got a franchise, and on March 18, 9 weeks later, you tell folks we can't be an Open Cup. 7.5 weeks after your announcement, you tell your league that you're in that you can't host the Eastern Hub to kick the season off. That you can't do that either. So we'll reach out to NISA and we'll see if we can get someone in the power structure there to talk about what's going on and where the league is going into the 2024 season. And if anybody, like I said, from Lions SCFC, Mr. Virhut, Ms. Patel, anybody, you guys want to come on? Runway's yours. You can land the plane. We'll talk about it. We'll talk it through. But where Georgia Lions SCFC is right now, we have more questions and we have no answers. So that's where we are. Modiflow, funny after how the Silverbacks disbanded as a team. Every match I planned on seeing at Silverbacks Park got derailed somehow. That's a wild run, Modiflow. That was a wild run of form. And Abby, there's nothing wrong with putting me on a tangent. You know that. So that's hour number 1, and I apologize that we went down that road, but I thought it was an important road to go down. I didn't realize it was going to take an hour of our time. But it's important to know whatever facts we can put together in a situation that is historic for a national competition. And it just so happened that it was involving a team in our footprint. Now that all of our spidey senses are up, I'm hoping that we can all sit there and try and figure out what in the wide world of sports is going on with NISA, Georgia Lions SCFC, Open Cup, the 2024 season, period. So that's where we are. That's where we are with this. That's hour number 1. And, so we were all over the place in hour number 1 talking about what's going on locally here in the sport of soccer. All right. Hour 2, I know that we've got a lot of stuff to get into here involving stuff in the Premier League. Vanni Sartini's suspension at Major League Soccer, just to go through all the headlines. Vanni Sartini's suspension is now time served. And so he will be back on the touchline for the next match involving his Vancouver Whitecaps. Remember, Latif Blessing got traded from Toronto to Houston for AM. I think it was like $275,000 in AM. Denny Bouanga has signed a contract extension. Marco Illich from Colorado has been loaned to Norway. Vancouver has acquired Ralph Priso from Colorado Rapids. So that's where we are with the news of the day. Carolina Core with Eddie Pope, and they're trying to build a team from scratch. first year of MLS Next Pro, what MLS Next Pro wants, independent ownership, so they're not just having folks that are tied to each and every franchise in Major League Soccer. MLS Next Pro's Carolina Core, we are efforting having them on the show at some point this week leading into their match against Atlanta United 2 at the Fraction on Sunday. So keep an eye out for the show for the remainder of the week, and we will track down hopefully somebody from Carolina Core. Could be on tape as a 1v1 if we can't get them on the morning show. We'll have them on in some form or fashion, roll some of that tape over, and we can discuss what's going on there with Carolina Core. So looking forward to catching up with Eddie Pope and everybody there at Carolina Core as they get ready for what's going on in MLS Next Pro. So now to England, once again, whatever's on your mind, lay it out there this morning. Since we didn't get to talk, we talked a lot at Atlanta United yesterday, but whatever's on your mind, if there's any leftovers, then we can talk about that. There's some news involving our friends up in Canada with the Canadian national team. And that, believe it or not, and once again, we always talk about our buddy Rick Westhead. When a headline in Canada involves Westhead, it's not a headline you want. As we get ready for all the activity there. So we'll get into what's going on with Canada Soccer. We'll get to what's going on, what else is on your mind as we go. Yesterday, we announced live on the air before it actually physically broke what is going on with Nottingham Forest. Violating the rules when it comes to profit and sustainability. They violated PSR, and their numbers are slightly different, and this is why the punishment is different than it was for Everton initially before Everton appealed. Nottingham Forest, a 4-point penalty, and it's for violating and admitting the breach in profit and sustainability rules by £34.5 million over their permitted 61. Their permitted 61 is different from the permitted 105, and you have to keep an eye on Newcastle for that, because part of that time was spent in the EFL Championship for Nottingham Forest. Not all 3 seasons were in the Premier League. So if you're in the Premier League, it's 35 times 3. Championship is a little different. It's reduced by £22 million per season for every year spent in the championship. So you end up with the permitted threshold of £61 million for Nottingham Forest, and they were way the hell over that. They were at £95.5 million over a 3-year period. That's a no-no in the eyes of the Premier League. So, Forest breached the £61 million limit. In their written reason, Premier League considered Forest's PSR calculations resulted in a loss of £95.5 million across the period, breaching the threshold by basically 50%. Everton's breach was £19.5 million. Initially, they got hit with a 10-point deduction. In the statement from the Premier League, it says Nottingham Forest's breach was 34.5. Forest pointed out to the Premier League Everton's total losses for the 3-year period were around £124.5 million compared to their own of £95.5. The sanction calculation for the Premier League. Entry point for a breach is 3. Circumstances and scale of the admitted breach of 3. Less the mitigation of 2, whatever their scale is, their binding scale, which means it's a 4-point deduction. So they're an 18th, 1 point back, 9 to play. Premier League say that Nottingham Forest basically cooperated fully during the whole case from beginning to end. Now the question is, was that why they were treated more leniently than Everton? Forest have 7 days to appeal. A new 3-person panel is going to hear that appeal. But at the appeal, you can't introduce any new evidence. You can just argue your case again and sit there and say, the same things but different. But Forest already admitted that they broke the rules. We did. We admit it. Hand in the air, other hand over our hearts. We broke the rules. We broke the rules. And I don't know how, sidebar, I don't know how arguing the same points could get you something akin to a lesser penalty than 4. Golden mitigation had to do with the Brennan Johnson transfer. We talked about that yesterday. For some of you who might have missed it, they thought they could get more money from Brendan Johnson and a transfer, so they held on to him. They initially were only going to get 30. They said we could get more. They got more, but it was after the deadline of June 30th. The commission said that the decision not to sell Johnson until the end of the summer window in order to generate a higher fee, quote, flies in the face of mitigation, and dismissed other claims surrounding the cost of promotion, gaining no sporting advantage through the overspend and having a good past record with financial fair play, though the commission did accept early guilty plea and cooperation. So Everton once again docked 10, later reduced to 6 after breaching 105 by $19.5 million. Forest bound by tighter spending restrictions because of the time in the championship, but breached their limit by 77%. Forest accepted their charge for breaching PSR at the earliest opportunity, cooperated fully. And so basically, it appears that because Forest was like, yeah, we did it, and here's all of our information, but we're going to plead our case, that's why they ended up getting less of a sentence and less of a penalty than Everton did. Everton chose to fight, afforded the removal of 2 points from their initial 6-point deduction as a result, whereas Everton chose to fight their case and received no mitigation. Both Forest and the Premier League can appeal the 4-point deduction. Club have a week to do it. Now, this is the other part in this when it comes to the appeal. Premier League understood to have marked out May 24 as the backstop, the last date that something's got to be squared away involving any club. Everton, remember, is still waiting on a second breach for PSR. Final day of the season is 5 days before that date of May 24th. So the season will have been finished. You'll know where everybody stands. Everton might have another appeal in them, but it's got to be decided within a 5-day period by May 24th, so that way the schedule makers can sit there and go, okay, we'll figure this out. We'll wait. Everything should be fine. There's a risk that the table after the last round of fixtures, with the official end date of the English domestic season not until June 8, sources have told The Telegraph they're optimistic about appeals being expedited. Also, the potential for us to secure their future before any appeal hearing, and therefore choose to end proceedings on their side of the dispute. Forest believe, according to John Percy at The Telegraph, that the Premier League is punishing ambition. They hoped that a cooperative stance would foster leniency from the commission, and they didn't get the numbers that they were looking for. Everybody's gunning for 40 points. 40 points usually is that level where you sit there and you go, yeah, we're safe from being relegated. But now Forest, and if you think about it, Forest probably has to shoot for 44 points. One of the relegation places could be decided by PSR this year. Forest are now in the relegation zone, and we all know about the patience of their owner, Evangelos Marinakis. Considering he fired Steve Cooper, they were going through the second year of a rough run. Cooper turned things around late last season. They stayed up. Not this season. He brings in Nuno Espirito Santo, who has spent a lot of time complaining about officiating. Forest ownership feels they're being punished for showing ambition. Forest promoted seemed a general mood of support until Marinakis started spending. Remember, Evangelos Marinakis has brought in 42 players since Nottingham Forest had been promoted to the Premier League this time around. spending basically $250 million in bringing those players in. 42 players, 250 million pounds. Forest concluded that taking the same stance that Everton did wouldn't do him any favors. According to John Percy, the owner at Nottingham Forest was told to basically keep quiet, and he did. Club admitted the breach, stayed transparent, confirmed Forest effectively avoided a further 2-point deduction through, quote, exceptional cooperation. The virtual hearing was held March 7 and 8. Minimal sanction. They were looking for 2 to 3 points. They end up with 4. They felt their defense was good. The argument over Brennan Johnson's sale entirely in line with PSR. But the $30 million turned into $47.5 after the deadline for bookkeeping. 2 months after the deadline for bookkeeping. So you sat on Brendan Johnson, hoping that the eventual sale, even though it was after your expiration date, you thought that that was going to work. It didn't. You were honest. That was a plus. You waited until after a deadline for Brendan Johnson. That was a not. So that's what Nottingham Forest is staring at right now. That's what you're staring at. Dell asking, is it still possible Everton could be deducted more points? Yeah, with this second go-round, Dell, they could be deducted more points. They could have more points deducted, sorry. They could. Absolutely could. And then you know that you will end up with folks that will be mad and they're going to appeal. But once again, remember, you've got to have everything done by 5 days after the regular season, even though the season officially is over June 8th. So the schedule makers can get everything squared away and get ready for the 24-25 season. Absolutely still possible Everton could be deducted more points. Absolutely possible they could. And that's something that they have to worry about. Because right now, the way things stand in the Premier League, we mentioned that with the points deduction right now that was given to Nottingham Forest, Forest is in the relegation zone by 1 point. Luton's at 22, Nottingham Forest is at 21. Everton is at 25 points. 8, 7, and 13. 8, 7, and 13. They would be at 31 points. They would be in 14th if everything were normal. But obviously this season it's not. 8, 7, and 13. Sean Dyche has done a pretty good job having to battle everything that he's had to battle. But right now, Everton is 4 points from safety. If Everton gets popped again, odds are they probably will. To what extent, we don't know. So I think in Everton's case, they've got to, in the final, say, what? They've got a match in hand. 10 matches to go. Everton probably needs to shoot for somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 points in their final 10 matches to avoid any kind of repercussion about, 40. If we say 40 points is that, that bar that you're looking for. So then you're thinking 44 points to avoid relegation of any kind. So if it's 44 points, it's 19 points in 10 matches. That's almost unheard of for someone at the bottom of the table. And they start off with Bournemouth after the international break. Bournemouth's at 35 points. Literally, Bournemouth is 5 points from that mythical safety that we talk about. Forest at 21 points. You got to keep an eye. Literally, here's how it is. Brentford's at 26. Everton's at 25. Luton is at 22. Forest is at 21. Burnley, 4 points in their last 2 matches. They're at 17 points now. They're only 5 points from safety. So now, Nottingham Forest has to look in front and behind. Sheffield United with a match in hand basically has the same record, same number of points, minus the 1 win. Burnley's win last time out gave them their 4th win of the season. But right now, Forest has to look in front and behind with what we're looking at when it comes to how you try and stay afloat in the Premier League. And that is going to be the question for these two clubs. And and Leicester, to add to it all, Leicester, according to Rob Dorsett, Leicester, and, God bless our buddy Jason Nix, who follows along with the Foxes, they may start the season off with a points deduction if they get promoted because of violations of PSR, profit and sustainability. The table right now, Leicester has been rolling. Leicester, and it is a 3-team fight. It is Leeds, Leicester, and Leeds and Leicester, by the way, Leicester has a match in hand, just to give you an idea. Leeds and Leicester would get automatically promoted. Right now, they're at 82 points. Leeds has played one more match. They're at a goal difference of 42. Leicester, the one less match, one goal difference, goal behind at 41, 82 points. Ipswich, and our buddy Kate Riley, who used to work at CNN, who's now living half the world away, and her beloved Ipswich, they've also played 38 matches. They're at 81 points. So you've got 3 teams chasing at the top. 2 of them get automatically promoted. If the world stopped right now, Ipswich, Southampton, West Brom, and Norwich. Abby, thanks for hanging out. Would be looking at things, but there's a big 20-point gap. Ipswich at 81, Southampton 73, 2 matches in hand. West Brom at 66, Norwich City at 61. That would be 3 through 6 in your playoff spots to chase after that third the third promotion space. But then once again, we get into the idea of relegation, promotion, those kinds of things. And we talk about Leicester facing a charge of allegedly breaching the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules in their final campaign before they were relegated. So they could get a points deduction, expecting to show that they exceeded the £105 million losses, 35 times 3. Leicester formally charged in the coming days. That could happen. So obviously, if you're not in the Premier League, you can't be deducted points in the Championship. But rules were introduced after Leicester was relegated, so they don't apply. But the timescales needed to arrange, and this is from our friends at Sky, to arrange the commission for the case to be heard, mean the case is certain to drag on beyond the summer. So the Foxes could nevertheless start next season with negative points if they're charged by the Premier League, and that charge is upheld by the Independent Commission. A number of Leicester's competitors at the top of the Championship are monitoring the situation, as they should. On Wednesday, Leicester avoided sanctions a week ago from the EFL, despite their latest accounts indicating they're on course to break the second tier's financial rules by the end of the season. Won their case with the Club Financial Reporting Panel, which decided they did not need to comply with an EFL-imposed business plan because they were subject to Premier League rules. Last year, the club announced record losses of £92.5 million for the 21-22 season. Expected their next financial accounts will also show significant debt, although the sale of Wesley Fofana, which was completed in that accounting period, will soften the blow. So Rob Dorsett thinks that it won't happen, that they will end up with a points deduction. But keep an eye on Leicester. Keep an eye on Leicester if Leicester gets promoted or if Leicester has to do anything to make sure that if they get promoted, they might end up with a points deduction. If they don't get promoted, it'll be a points deduction. But right now, the way things stand in the championship, and this is another point that we like to make every once in a while, 3 teams get relegated from the championship and go into League One. Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday, Huddersfield. Rotherham looks like they're adrift. They're 18 points adrift right now. 19 points adrift from safety. Birmingham City, we got news on them in a second. Sheffield Wednesday, Huddersfield, Birmingham City, QPR, Stoke, Plymouth Argyle, Blackburn, Millwall. 3, 6, 8 clubs separated by 5 points involving 2 of the relegation spots. But you look at this group. Huddersfield, QPR, Stoke, Blackburn, Swansea, Watford, Sunderland, Cardiff. Well, you don't include Cardiff. Okay, so Sunderland. So Sunderland, Watford, Swansea, Blackburn, Stoke, QPR, Huddersfield. 7 clubs in the bottom half of the championship that were in the Premier League at one point, fighting for survival in the championship. And Leicester could be punched in the neck because of QSR violations. So we keep an eye on that. Modiflow. How in tune am I with the local grassroots soccer scene? And can I point out some teams and their qualities? I am not that up to date. I'm not that up to date. Anyone know what happened to Club the Strongest Atlanta? But Modiflow, you give me a question. I can specifically do some research on it and let you know what I think. Michael Valverde, Forest being punished for trying to mimic Manchester City, will never have any points deductions because they have better lawyers. You're not wrong. Dell would really like for the end of the Premier League season to be very competitive at the top and bottom of the table. Traditionally, I think it is. This season, especially at the top, it's going to be crazy. I think the relegation fight for the 3rd spot will be interesting, and we also have to now keep an eye on the financial rules and see if anything happens to Everton and Forest. They have to play pedal down to make sure that they're not in a position to get relegated immediately and do their best to kind of come up with some kind of padding to make sure that that they still would survive even if they do get knocked again with points. Dell's let me know Wrexham, 3rd place, last automatic spot, only on goal difference. And I know League 2 is crazy. I figured that Wrexham would get out of League 2 in the first season. League 1 is where business picks up. That's where it will get difficult for them. I think they can get into League 1, but then that's when the investment has to kick in again, and you've got to work on being solid in League 1. First year, be solid, build from there, and then try to get promoted. But the level of investment going from League 2 to League 1 is going to be huge. And you've got to figure out, once again, all these revenue streams that we're looking at with all this kind of stuff. It's going to be a tough order for them. But it will be interesting to see if our buddies from Wrexham will make it through yet another promotion situation. Also on the board this morning, there's some stuff going on. And there are some stories that are out there. Once again, thanks to our friends at The Score. The Score is very, very busy this morning. And it's for full disclosure, it's an outfit that I used to work for when I was in Canadian television. So I always have their app downloaded, and I always look at their stories and look at their personnel. So in soccer this morning, there's a lot going on, and a lot of it's overseas. So let's start with Serie A. The Fiorentina match on the weekend was postponed after Fiorentina GM Joe Barone had a medical incident. It wasn't really disclosed as to what it was, but now Top Soccer News is saying that Barone's on life support following cardiac arrest. Fell Sunday at the team hotel. Shortly before the match at Atalanta, rushed to a hospital in Milan. Match was postponed. Turns 58 on tomorrow. Critical but stable condition. Cardiac intensive care unit at San Rafael Hospital in Milan. So Fiorentina is keeping an eye on Joe Barone. Lazio has hired Croat coach Igor Tudor to replace Maurizio Sarri with immediate effect. Sarri stepped down last week after a poor run of form, left them 9th in the top flight. Igor Tudor, 2 Serie A titles with Juve as a player, Marseille to 3rd in Ligue 1 last season, left the troubled club for, quote, professional and private reasons. So Igor Tudor is now the new head coach replacing Maurizio Sarri. Now, 2 parts. Napoli defender Juan Jesus on Monday blasted Francesco Acerbi for denying he dished out racist abuse after the Italy international was forced to leave the Azzurri training camp ahead of 2 friendlies in the U.S. Jesus had initially played down the incident following Napoli's 1-1 draw at Inter Milan on Sunday, telling DAZN, what happens on the pitch stays on the pitch, after accepting Acerbi's on-field apology for unspecified insults. Jesus, who is Brazilian by birth, headed home. Napoli's late equalizer at the San Siro had been protesting to match referee Federico La Pena, pointing to the Keep Racism Out badge on his shirt, apparently saying that he called me a Negro, meaning Acerbi. Acerbi left Italy's training camp after reports he'll be investigated for the alleged abuse, replaced by Roma center back Gianluca Mancini in the 28-man squad selected before the matches against Venezuela and Ecuador in the build-up to their European title defense. Insisted on his return to Milan, meaning Acerbi, that he didn't say anything racist, echoing what his agent Federico Pastorello said to broadcaster Radio Sportiva earlier on Monday. Jesus on Instagram, quote, I thought the incident was done with on the pitch, and frankly, I was hoping not to have to come back to something so despicable. However, today I read Acerbi's comments, which conflict completely with what happened, with what he himself said on the pitch, which is backed up by video and footage of him asking me for forgiveness. I'm not having it. Racism is going to be fought here and now. Acerbi said to me, get lost, black, you're just a Negro, in quotes. Now he's changed tack and claims there was no racism. Jesus' reaction, bad news for Acerbi, as FIGC, meaning Italian Football Federation. Their regulations say if he's found guilty of racially abusing Jesus, he'll be banned for at least 10 matches. Authorities can ask for even a longer ban if they feel his behavior warrants it. Guilty verdict would be guaranteed to end his club season with Inter, who are set to win their 20th league title, leading AC Milan by 14 points with 9 matches to go. Disciplinary authorities likely to insist any eventual ban be extended worldwide, with the Euros starting on June 14th. Serie A told Agence France Presse, regular report from the division's sporting judge will be released on Tuesday. That document, which is usually published the day after the end of each round of matches, should confirm whether Acerbi will be investigated. Inter said that they will, quote, meet with the player as soon as possible to shed light on the exact details of what happened. So that's what's going on in Serie A this morning. Apparently, once again, courtesy of our friends at Agence France Presse. Sorry, different direction. Yeah, Agence France Presse. Striking Major League Soccer referees on Monday accused substitute officials of making a litany of mistakes in last weekend's fixtures. PSRA said stand-in referees had made an array of blunders in recent games. Quote, points were lost, red cards were incorrectly given, while other red cards were incorrectly not given. And, quote, stonewall penalty kick decisions were missed. PSRA said in their statement on the 280-character app. PSRA statement is the latest statement that they had in their dispute with Pro. Don Garber expressed frustration at the stalemate, accusing PSRA of not negotiating fairly during talks. In an interview with The Athletic last week, and we didn't get into this, Garber said the league was prepared to continue using substitute referees for as long as needed, insisted feedback from MLS players and coaches had been positive. Quoting Garber, we have officials that we think are doing a really good job. Our players think they're doing a good job. Our coaches think they're doing a good job, and they're going to continue to work in a way that will be supported by Pro until there's a resolution. However, Garber's remarks, and once again, this is Agence France Presse, swiftly rebutted by the Players Union, the MLSPA, which said there was, in fact, widespread dissatisfaction at the standard of refereeing. MLSPA said it is grossly inaccurate to say that players think that the current group of referees are doing a good job. In fact, players are very clear that the replacements are undertrained, lack experience, not nearly at the level that a league of MLS's stature deserves, end quote. Charlotte FC's coach Dean Smith said his team had been on the wrong end of decisions in a 2-1 loss to Nashville. Most notable was the failure to award what looks like and once again, this is Agence France-Presse. It's the Patrick Adjumong incident inside the 18. Galaxy's Maya Yoshida appeared to wince when asked about refereeing in the 3-3 draw with St. Louis. Yoshida said, "I'm going to get fined. I hope PSRE makes a deal with the league as soon as possible. That's a shame. That's it." Laurent Courtois, we started the show with in an indirect way, furious following his team's defeat, which included 3 penalties, a red card, 2 goals in second half stoppage time. Courtois said referee Deshaun Beard, who we have seen in USL Championship and MLS Next Pro, had failed to send off Chicago's goalkeeper for a handball outside the area, missed an offside that led to a Chicago goal, and one arose from an incorrectly awarded corner. Something was taken away from my guys. It's hard to swallow under these conditions. They worked too hard for this. So that is what's on the mind of some folks as we roll through the news here this morning. Okay, Rich is letting us know about Barcelona and Real Madrid meeting in New Jersey on a summer friendly. And by the way, Rich will know this firsthand. Lionel Messi is not going to be at the Argentina match. He's not going to be participating. He might be there, but he will not be participating in the Argentina match at Lincoln Financial Field coming up in the window. So Rich lets us know, once again, when you guys send in all the bolos, because you're faster than I am on a lot of this stuff. Barcelona, Real Madrid, New Jersey summer friendly. El Clasico preseason friendly in August at MetLife. And part of a mini summer tournament, which will also see the 2 Spanish giants taking on Manchester City, Chelsea, and AC Milan. Matches taking place at Yankees. Why? Matches also taking place at New York's Yankee Stadium, Manchester City, AC Milan. I know the why, but why? Orlando, Barcelona, Manchester City, Chicago, AC Milan, Real Madrid, Baltimore, Barcelona, AC Milan, Charlotte, Real Madrid, and Chelsea as part of the Soccer Champions Tour. Saturday, July 27, Yankee Stadium is Manchester City, AC Milan. On the 30th, at Camping World, Barca, Manchester City. Soldier Field, AC Milan, and Real Madrid. MetLife, Barcelona, Real Madrid. August 3rd. August 6th at M&T, Barcelona, AC Milan, Bank of America, Chelsea, Real Madrid. That's the schedule for the Soccer Champions Tour. I do not know when tickets are going to be put on sale. I do have a gut feeling, however, that those tickets will not be for a double negative, will not be in, yes, Del Yankee Stadium. Yes, Yankee Stadium. Yes, Yankee Stadium. That will be the largest crowd that they probably will have ever had for a soccer match on a U12 surface. Michael Head, all these preseason tournaments are pure garbage. No. I want to see what the ticket prices are. I legitimately do. We also mentioned what's going on in Serie A. Salernitana, by the way, they moved on to their 4th coach this year. They announced Tuesday that Stefano Colantuono will be their 4th coach of the year, and Frank Ribery will be his assistant. Brought in until the end of the current season to replace Fabio Liverani, sacked following just over a month on the job. I feel like I'm looking at Watford. Liverani had replaced Filippo Inzaghi. Inzaghi lasted 4 months after Paulo Sousa had been fired in October. 2 wins all season, 12 points from safety, 9 points to go. So suffice to say that we mentioned what's going on with all of the round robinness when it comes to managers. Birmingham City is going back to Gary Rowett. Remember how we talked about things being a circle? Going back to Gary Rowett. Rowett managed from 14 to 16, set to return on an interim basis to try to keep him in the championship. Outside the relegation zone on goal difference with 8 matches to go. Tony Mowbray stepped away from the job to undergo medical treatment back in February. Expected to be out for between 6 to 8 weeks with assistant manager Mark Venus taking over. Club have acted to bring in a temporary replacement to save them from trouble, so Rowett will be their 4th manager of the year at Birmingham City. Remember John Eustace? Remember Wayne Rooney? Yeah, now you've got Tony Mowbray in February, who said that following a health assessment, medical diagnosis requiring him to receive treatment, so he stepped away. And then you had Tony Mowbray stepping away. You had Mark Venus stepping in as a substitute, the assistant coach in the interim, and now Gary Rowett. Same thing, by the way, is happening at Nantes in Ligue 1, by the way, where they have gone full circle. And it's just, I don't know if people just run out of ideas or what. I have no idea. If they just run out of ideas and you're just kind of going, yeah, sure, let's go back to the future and figure out what to do. By the way, we mentioned what's going on at Nantes. Luke Entwistle at the Guardian. Nantes have sacked 2 managers this season, now turning to a man they fired 10 months ago. Fired Pierre Aristui and Jocelyn Gourvenec after losing to Strasbourg on Sunday. Aristui had worked at Nantes for 7 years in various roles. Still under contract through 2025. But the owner decided that his decision to sack him was hasty and ill-judged. 13 managers at Nantes since the start of the 16-17 season, 4 taking charge since 2020 and the 2021 season alone. So they have circled their way back to previous managers. So I don't know if you just run out of ideas or what, but they brought back a guy they fired 10 months ago. 10 months. 10 months ago, you fire a guy, then you're bringing him back. Well, probably because you're probably still under contract until 2025, and you don't have to pay him twice. Just saying. The government has confirmed in England, by the way, Paul McInnes at the government, an independent regulator for English football is imminent after the government confirmed plans to put a bill before the parliament under which clubs could be fined up to 10% of revenues if they breach agreed conditions. Bill is to be published today, defining the powers of the regulator according to 3 objectives: improve financial sustainability of clubs, ensure financial resilience across the leagues, and to safeguard the heritage of English football. Details of the bill will get looked at, months in the making, and it was regarded by the current prime minister as a historic moment for fans. All I'm going to say is this: good luck in improving financial sustainability. Just ask Jess about that with her beloved Reading. Ensure financial resilience across the leagues. I think they're doing pretty good, at least in the Premier League right now. They've got to figure out how to get the deal done with the lower division. And safeguarding the heritage of English football. I don't know what that means. Sounds pretty official, but good luck. Also, let's see. What am I missing this morning? Yeah, Rich, in discussing what's going on. Well, and Michael, this is absolutely true. Michael did this himself. Michael says if you want to see your real team go overseas. Michael did that. They went to go see, he and the boss went to go see Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. They got tickets. They walked in. They also had to be reminded that they had to wear Chelsea gear if they're going into a Chelsea bar or a Chelsea pub. Dell got to see Man U in Old Trafford, Craven Cottage, Fulham. Rich reminding us about Messi and no Messi. Ticket prices dropped a lot after the Messi announcement, enough that Rich might actually go. And that, not necessarily a surprise. News from Doug Robertson at the AJC. And this was late in the match. Stian Gregerson suffered a meniscus injury against Orlando, unavailable for Saturday, no timeline for return. There's an incident off the top of my head. I don't know if it came from that, but the Dalton McGuire push late into and toward Brad Gazan, that would be the leading contender in the clubhouse as to when the injury happened. So that means that your back four is probably going to be some combination of Hernandez, Abram, Derek Williams, and Brooks Lennon. Noah Cobb and Efren Morales will be called up probably for the matchup in Toronto on Saturday. And they'll keep an eye on what's going on with Atlanta United in Toronto. So this means no Almada, no Gigi, no Gregerson, no Wiley, no Sleesh, no Fortune, no Abram. Oh, sorry. So that probably means that with Luis Abram gone, that probably means that it's going to be some combination of maybe Aiden McFadden. Yeah, he was. I was off, Michael. Abram did get called up. So back four, some combination of McFadden. I mean, it'll be Brooks and Derek Williams and Ronald Hernandez. That three, you know. Those three are familiar with the system. The fourth one will be some combination of maybe Noah Cobb, maybe Efren Morales, maybe Aiden McFadden playing left back. So 3 of the 4, we know you'll have your depth coming up from the 2s. The 4th spot will be the one that's the question. Yes, ill-timed, absolutely. Well, when Orlando guy pushes you in the back late in the match, trying to truck you from behind, I think it was like with 20 minutes to go, because you could tell that Gregerson was struggling for that final 20 minutes. Jarrett and I were in that, the press box is in that section of the stadium opposite the supporters group. And after Gregerson got pushed down, no, Gazan, haven't heard anything about any kind of injury with Brad. I know that he went down and got treatment late. Haven't heard anything about Brad. Checking Doug's notes. Nope. Nothing on Brad. Nothing new on Brad. But yeah, the Gregerson news came out about 20 minutes ago. So that's where that is. A couple of other bullet points. Kobe Mainu called up to the senior England squad. Gareth Southgate is a leading contender for the Manchester United job. Let's see. News in the front office from another couple of folks. All right. So I think that's where we are. So, yeah, the Gregerson news is ill-timed. But like I said, I think that you look at the moment 20 minutes from the conclusion of the match where he got pushed in the back. That's one. That's one moment. But was it another moment too? So I know we can sit there being looking at things going on against the purple team. I know the default is to look at McGuire and the McGuire push. Thinking back on it, kind of an innocent push, even though it was a push. It was not something that caused a buckling of that knee in that moment. It was just more of Gregerson going down. So don't know when it happened, although he was ginger in his movements for the final 20 minutes of the match. So, yep, no Gregerson. So that makes 7. But once again, that's why you built the team this way. You know what 3 of your 4 at the back are going to be. You don't know what your 4th is. You probably are going to have Nicholas Firmino and Muyumba and probably Dax McCarty. My guess is that Dax would be more of he would be your 6, and Muyumba would get to engage offensively and go forward more. And then up top, it would be normal, except for Jamal in the middle. It's probably going to be Shande, Jamal, and Saba, with Mosqueda available on the right, Tyler Wolff available on the left. And that, I mean, like I said, that's the as I'm processing things here in real time. That's what I'm staring at. I'm staring at left to right up top. Shande, Jamal, Saba, backups Wolf and Mosqueda. And then, like I said, Nicholas Firmino would be one of the ones that is on a first-team deal that's on the bench. So I would say that Firmino probably gets a start. I would say Muyumba starts. I would say Dax McCarty starts. And like I said, the fourth at the back, the left back to me would be the question. My guess is Aiden McFadden. Dell wants to know about some of the younger players on the brink of joining the first team that might actually be joining the first team. Like I said, it would be Noah Cobb and Efren Morales off the top of my head. That are closest to being ready. So those would be the first two off the top of my head. Then you've got Nicholas Firmino that would be a part of this discussion as well. So there are a couple of holes that you would need to fill, but once again, that's why the depth is here. Dax McCarty coming in being your 6, perfectly fine. That's why you've got him here. You've got him here to spot start. You've got him here to bring in Sandpaper out of the bullpen late. That's what you're staring at with Dax McCarty. Totally cool with that. And you're going to need that, especially with Gregerson not being available Saturday, to help out at the back. Don't be surprised if Dax drifts back and helps out. And at times it's almost like a back 5. Or it ends up with it being a back 4 and Brooks rotating up. So think of it this way. You might have times where Dax drifts back and it's a back 5, or Dax drifts back from his 6, becomes almost like a de facto center back, and then everything kind of twists one place. Brooks goes up and engages. Then your right back, which might be Derek or probably Ronald. So it would be Derek and Ronald. So Ronald then becomes a right back. And then that way it twists to where Ronald's at right back. You know what Ronald can do. Derek moves around. Then it is Aiden or whoever it is at left back twists around as well. So everything would and Dax pulls in. So it ends up being something like Ronald, Derek, Dax, or Ronald, Dax, Derek, and Aiden McFadden as your left back. Then once again, Tristan goes and engages offensively. Nicholas Firmino engages offensively. Oh, Luke Brennan is another one, Del. Another young winger that's there for Atlanta. So, like I said, that's why you have this depth constructed. That's why you've built the roster in this way. That's why you have the 2s to help you out in this way. So look out for Noah Cobb. Look out for Efren Morales. Look out for Aiden McFadden. Look out for Luke Brennan. Look out for Nicholas Firmino. That's what I would anticipate as part of the party heading to Toronto. So, and Derek Etienne. But also, Michael, Derek Etienne is also recovering from an ankle injury, and so he's still rehabilitating his way through. He played 45 minutes for Atlanta United 2. If Derek can give you experience off the bench, then take that too. But Derek Etienne Jr. right now still recovering from an ankle. Yeah, but Del, he spent some time on the 2s just to get some reps. He needed some minutes in rehab, and that's the other aspect of what the 2s are for, is that you can have those players learn. The younger players get to learn so they can be ready for first team, and also for first teamers to come back and help out when they're rehabilitating, trying to get back to full song. So Derek Etienne recovering from the ankle injury, got 45 minutes in this past week for Atlanta United 2 in their match. And so I don't know where Derek is in his rehabilitation. Derek probably makes the trip, and he would be available for 20 minutes maybe in the second half to help things out. So Derek would be experienced also. So, do you do something where maybe late you end up with, if you need something like this where Nick turns into your striker and Tyler drifts back and Derek is your left wing, perhaps. So like I said, like I said, there are good questions to have. There are good questions to have here. But the fact that you have all of these different players that can fit into all of these different positions, that's a good thing. When you have 7 guys that will not be a part of your road trip to Toronto, that's why you've constructed. That's why Carlos Bocanegra and the front office have constructed the roster in this way. That's why you have it constructed in this manner. So when you have international windows, and by the way, Toronto will not have Davy Flores or their captain, Jonathan Osorio. This will be the challenge. It will be the offense of Toronto up against the back line of Atlanta. And the stability that is there. But I think the continuity of having guys that are there every day, challenging for those starts, I think that that's part of the discussion here. That once again, like I said, I'm looking at it being Brooks, who will engage, Ronald, who will slide over, Derek, who will be in place, Dax, who will drift back, and then probably Aiden at left back. That's my guess. Ronald has been known to be at left back or whatever, but I think you need Ronald more centrally in this situation, especially now that you don't have Gregerson. Because if Gregerson had played, I would have had a combination of Ronald, Derek, Gregerson, and Brooks at your back line. Now, to me, this means that Aiden McFadden probably ends up getting more minutes. But I want to see what they do at left back since Caleb won't be there. Muyumba starts. I think McCarty starts. Nicholas Firmino probably starts. But then up front, like I said, up front you're normal. Outside, it's your left wing is normal. Right wing is normal. And Jamal is your backup striker, so Jamal goes in there. But I can see what you're staring at. No, Michael, Michael wants to know, we're going to be missing so much quality, makes you wonder if we should have international quality players. You absolutely should. Thanks to MLS scheduling. I think that's the other element in this, but that's the assumed risk in all of this. You want to have quality international players, but once again, that's why you build from within. To where you have a Nicholas Firmino, who's a Swiss Army knife and can pretty much be wherever. Nicholas Firmino spent time on the back line. When he was asked to spend time at the back, he put in time at the back. I don't anticipate him starting there, but if you substitute things and game state tells you, okay, I need to do one thing or another, hell, Nicholas Firmino for the Twos has played at the back. So to have a Swiss Army knife like Nicholas Firmino is invaluable. You have a developing player like Luke Brennan. We've seen the relationship with Luke Brennan and with Nicholas Firmino. We saw that inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium in AmFam 2 Electric Boogaloo. And I think it was the match against New England too. So to have these younger players that can help out that next wave. Like I said, Noah Cobb I think is coming. Efren Morales I think is coming to Toronto and toward the first team. Nicholas Firmino will be a part of the discussion. Luke Brennan on the right wing will be a part of the discussion. So that's why you have the younger guys help fill in those spots when your first teamers and your other stars, they go into international duty. You want that. You want international stars. But that's why you have that's why you have the guys challenging for those first team positions in practice Monday through Friday. So they can be ready for these moments. That's why you have the academy guys practicing with the first team so they can be ready for these moments. The second team practices with the first team. The first team's second wave practices with the first starting 11s. That's why you have this 3-deep approach. Second team, second string, first string, or first 11, second team. That's why you have it that way. For situations like this. Like I said, I think that the matchup coming up in Toronto is the offense Insigne Bernardeschi up against the back line for Atlanta United. But once again, the back line for Atlanta United, 3/4 of it, The backups will be there. They'll be young, but they're not afraid to be in these situations. Noah Cobb hasn't been afraid since the age of 15. He was playing in USL Championship. He was playing up against dudes that were twice his age, and he didn't care. Still doesn't care. Noah Cobb, I think, as we develop center back U for Atlanta United, I think that is going to be that literally that has been where Atlanta United has been building, the back line. Miles through the draft, Caleb Wiley through the academy, Noah Cobb through the academy, Efren Morales through the academy. That's what you're getting. Build with the youngins from the back. You get the younger ones also on the wings too, like Luke Brennan. Aiden Torres, 15. I think he just turned 16. Not afraid of anything. I think Aiden Torres is going to be another one who might be a year or two away. So, Dell, I keep adding names to the list. But more immediately, Firmino, Brennan, Cobb, Morales. Right behind, Aiden Torres. So that's your longer answer to a shorter question. But no, you want to have international talent, but that's why you build the way that you build. That's why Carlos Bocanegra and the front office have built the way that they have. Bring in the high-priced talent to help you score and help you make the magic. The academy to build from the back and to help out on the wings. That's the way it's worked out with Atlanta United. So that's where that is. Let's see. There were a couple of things that I think. Oh, we still haven't talked about the NWSL and the 9 Gold Nuts. Okay, that might be kickoff for tomorrow. Tomorrow, by the way, once again, 9:15. Tyler Pilgrim will be joining us from Scarves and Spikes. We'll find out what Tyler thought about Atlanta United 2. We'll find out what Tyler thought about Atlanta United, and hopefully the busiest man in show business in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, will be joining us at 10 o'clock as well. Dell. Watch the twos on Apple TV. You can also listen to the twos here on the SDH Network. Carolina Core coming to town on Sunday at 3, pregame at 2:30. Jason will have the call. Maddie and I will have pregame and post and all the points in between. So tomorrow, once again, Tyler Pilgrim, Scarves and Spikes at 9:15. Dylan Butler at 10 o'clock, and unless he's like traveling the Northeast and tackling everything else that's there. And then 5:30, 7:30, Midtown and Billerica at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And so that's our game tomorrow. Traditionally Tuesdays, but this week it's a Wednesday. Next week is off the wall crazy busy as we're getting ready toward the end of the regular season and region play. So crazy busy next week, but this week it's doubleheader tomorrow, Midtown Villarica. Matches on Friday, Carolina Core and Atlanta United 2 on Sunday. Kickoff, pregame kickoff at 2:30, kickoff a little after 3 o'clock, like 3:03. So you can watch them on Apple TV, but you can listen to it just as much here on the SDH Network. Okay, a couple of other things on the list before we go. I thought that there was some other stuff that I needed to talk about. And thanks for putting up with what's going on. Apparently, the plan for Wickham to buy the training ground from our friends at Reading has now officially been put on hold. Wickham have put plans to buy the training ground on hold due to, quote, due to seeming planning limitations allowing only Reading FC to use the training grounds. Importantly, this is from Wickham on their website. Quote, importantly, it was agreed that while the details are being finalized and due diligence carried out, Wickham's majority investor would provide sufficient financing to Reading to allow it to pay its tax obligations and operating expenses, including payroll for staff and players. It was Wickham and Wickham's major financiers' belief that they were helping Reading in professional football with the offer to assist its neighbor in a manner that had historically been used in the past by many football clubs. They have put on hold the discussions and ongoing due diligence due to seeming planning limitations allowing only Reading to use the training grounds. Wickham continues to wish its neighbors good luck in solving its issues. Reading's owners must spend any upfront payment linked to the sale of the training ground to Wickham on keeping the club afloat. And so the PA has reached out for Reading for comment, but that sounds like what Reading wanted to do was sit there and say, well, yeah, you can buy it from us, but we still want to use it. You can use it, but we still get to use it, and we might be priority. So that still sounds like That still sounds like something that's kind of out there that we'll keep an eye on. So there's that. The other element on the board, before this gets any older, once again, this is Rick Westhead about Canada soccer. If Canada's soccer men's team, and this is from our friends at TSN and Rick Westhead, if Canada beats Trinidad and Tobago Saturday, Canadians advance to play in the Copa America. But if they win, and it's possible that the better Canada performs in the Copa, the more it could accelerate the Federation's path toward insolvency. Follow. Thanks to an agreement reached between the union representing the men's national team players and the Federation a year ago, each of the 23 players on the teams paid a $9,000 bonus for each win. That means if Canada beats Trinidad and Tobago and wins 2 matches in the Copa, it's going to cost Canada Soccer $600,000 in bonuses, in addition to at least the $500,000 in expenses related to travel costs, staging a pre-tournament camp for players and coaches. Source to Westhead, quote, "We'd be looking at far more than $1 million in costs if Canada makes the Copa and gets at least a few wins. The uncomfortable truth is the better our players do on the pitch right now, the worse financially it is for the Fed, which is running on fumes. Prize money for this year's Copa has not been announced by CONMEBOL. Argentina took home 6.5 for winning the last Copa in 21. Brazil got 3.5. Teams that made the quarters were paid $1.5 million. Countries that did not advance out of the group did not receive bonuses." New Canada Soccer General Secretary Kevin Blue, whose first day on the job was last Thursday, gets to deal with this. TSN reported back on February 21st, union representing the players on the senior national women's team have filed a $40 million lawsuit against 15 current and former board members, including current board chair Charmaine Crooks. According to an agreement Canada Soccer reached last year with women's national team players, Federation pays them $1 million a year. The source told TSN it's up to the players to decide how to split up the money. Canada Soccer Players Association alleges Crooks and other board members were negligent and breached their fiduciary duty to Canada Soccer in 2018 when they signed the media and sponsorship contract with CSB, controlled by the owners of the Canadian Premier League teams. Once again, in exchange for the flat rate fee of $3 to $4 million, the National Fed signed over all the sponsorship rights potentially through 2037. Football Australia, by comparison, generated about 28 million Canadian in sponsorships and TV revenue in the year ending June of 23. According to Westhead, no tangible offers to retool the contract have been presented. Continued to have a talk with Kevin Blue. Blue said he's met with CSB officials to talk about the contract. Canada Soccer officials over the last year have asked CSB to sign new sponsorship deals in the airline, hotel, and logistics sector and commit the funds from those agreements to junior and senior national team programming. CSB has countered, according to the source to Westhead, by suggesting it pursue a sponsor deal in the gambling sector with some of the proceeds from a contract going to Canada Soccer. Federation reported a $4 million deficit in 22. Source told TSN the Federation recorded a deficit of more than $3 million in 23. Projects a budget deficit of $4 million this year. The 2023 financial statements for Canada Soccer won't be made until the annual general meeting in May. The new head of the Fed, Kevin Blue, acknowledged the financial situation. In December, Federation officials floated the idea of increasing the annual fee for player registrations from $9 to $15, necessary to help avoid a bankruptcy filing within the next year. That's where Canada Soccer is right now. They could file for bankruptcy within the next year. According to the source, that's what they told provincial and territorial organizations. They're expected to vote on the request in May at the general meeting. Federation execs in recent months have also discussed requiring professional teams in the CPL and MLS and leagues in Canada to boost their annual registration fees by 60% to match prospective player fee increases. Currently, each MLS team pays Canada Soccer $30,000 and each CPL club pays $20,000. Continued requested required reading of the day. Once again from our friend Rick Westhead, TSN, to show you just how things – you think things are a mess down here at times? That's what's going on in Canada. We're 10 minutes over. I apologize for that. Let's go gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. And then we'll get into what's on and what to watch on TV. So let's get into what to watch on TV. All right. So Tuesday, Open Cup. We know about Open Cup. We talked about Open Cup. We know it exists. DAZN Women's Champions League quarters, Ajax, Chelsea, Benfica, Lyon, 1:45 and 4 Eastern. Paramount Plus, Copa de la Liga at 8:15. Open Cup at ussoccer.com. Villages, Clovers, Ford Madison Duluth, Vermont Green Lex SC, Tormenta hosting FC America's CFL Spurs at 7:30, Tulsa Athletic and Northern Colorado Hailstorm at 8. So 5 matches at ussoccer.com. Paramount Plus got the Copa de la Liga. DAZN has Women's Champions League quarterfinals this afternoon. If you are a true degenerate and really want to watch things, Teise, For the Fans, Gold TV, Nuestra Tele, Liga 1 Max, Libertadores, Sudamericana, all the BNs. Go to Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the show, helps out the network, helps out their network, and really takes you down a lot of rabbit holes. Boy, does it take you down a lot of rabbit holes. You get AFCON, you get all, like I said, all the BN stuff that they broadcast. You get that Liga, whatever you want to watch, it's there. fntz.co/soccer down here, and you get to really experience the degenerate nature of a lot of leagues around the planet. We got a lot of degenerates in here, Del. You know that. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo that we have today. Newcastle is going to consider selling Bruno Guimaraes to fund their summer spending spree, because remember, they've got to spend because they're about $30 million away from violating profit and sustainability rules. Their negative is already in the high 60s, low 70s. Remember, you can only have $105 million in recorded losses in a 3-year period. Otherwise, you're in violation of the profit and sustainability rules. Real Madrid, PSG, we're watching Guimaraes in the FA Cup defeat. PSG keeping a close eye on Alexander Isak. Bayern Munich open to selling Joshua Kimmich this summer. He's only interested in City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Real Madrid, or Barcelona. That's from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Manchester United, Liverpool among the clubs interested in signing Brahim Diaz from Real Madrid. Man City's Bernardo Silva says he's sure he will return to his first club, Benfica. Refused to say when. Everton will demand a minimum of $80 million for Jared Branthwaite, wanted by United and Chelsea. Raheem Sterling will snub interest from Saudi Arabia this summer as he bids to win silverware with Chelsea next year. Set to reward Cole Palmer with a new contract with much improved terms. Eddie Nketiah, might leave Arsenal this summer. Wolves have joined the Premier League clubs chasing a potential deal. Dortmund willing to re-sign Jadon Sancho on a permanent, but only if Manchester United are willing to accept less than half the £73 million they paid for him in 21. Spurs have their sights set on West Ham's fullback Ben Johnson. Liverpool have stepped up their interest in Bayer Leverkusen's defender Piero Hincapié. United once again signed Kobe Mainoo to a new deal. Chelsea have identified Inter Milan's Simone Inzaghi as a replacement for their current boss Mauricio Pochettino. Eric Cantona hinted he would be interested in a role at the club for Manchester United under new part owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So that's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. So what do we do this morning? We went on a deep dive of the activity involving a club that is no longer a part of Open Cup. Morning, Andy. Glad you're here. There's a club in Nisa that we don't know anything about. They're not an Open Cup. So we tried to re-explain and get everybody reacquainted with what's going on with Georgia Lions SCFC. Went into a deep dive there. Went into a deep dive overseas with profit and sustainability rules. And talked a lot about Nottingham Forest, talked about Everton, talked about the Wise, talked about what's going on with all of that. Brought you back in to look at what's going on in Major League Soccer, whatever's on your mind, and finishing up with how messed up Canada Soccer is when it comes to their national organization. So it was a lot of business down here today, and some coaching down here, and some spinning of folks and job titles and folks that were no longer in the job that are back in the job. So that's where we are. And tomorrow morning, once again, like I said, 9:15, Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes will join us. Dylan Butler hopefully can join us at 10 o'clock, and we'll discuss stuff. That's the official term. Midtown and Villa Rica tomorrow afternoon and evening here on the network on the high school side. So for everybody here, thanks to hanging out with us as you always do here on starting at 9:05 Eastern time. On Monday through Friday, we go for 2 hours unless there's more to talk about. We just keep talking. So once again, thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll be back at it again tomorrow to discuss stuff. That's the official term. Maddie Cruz and the ones and twos, she'll be back tomorrow, and we will break everything down on a Wall Pass Wednesday. So whatever's on your mind, bring it to the table, and we'll talk about it. Mucha Plati, I'll play it safe, everybody. Since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Back at it again in less than 22 hours. See you on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Bye.